So my name is Ajwa Kufo. I am the Senior Human Rights Advisor here in the UN, to the UN Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator, and also to the UN Country Team. My views on social justice. For us in human rights, issues we deal with we talk about human rights as universal, as applicable to everybody by virtue of being human. And of course, when we talk about rights, we are not just talking about civil and political rights. We are also talking about economic, social, and cultural rights. And these rights are all interrelated. So we talk about right to water or right to health. If you don't have right to health, how can you secure right to life, for example? This is critical that social rights, so-called social rights, form part of the whole tapestry of human rights when we talk about this. Right to property, freedom from violence, right to education, right to shelter even, and right to decent jobs is equally just as important as right to vote, right to life, and freedom from arbitrary arrest and detention. Many of the social issues we deal with, as I said, is interrelated. We don't separate them. And the legal framework, the human rights standards are very clear on this. There are two separate conventions, of course. There is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, but there is also the International Covenant on Economic and Social and Cultural Rights. In the context we are in Nigeria, we know many of these social rights are not justiciable, but they don't have justiciability. You are not able to litigate on them for now. And perhaps the confusion arose because we have two covenants, which doesn't mean one is more important or the other. Perhaps our founding fathers should have merged the two covenants to show that they are equally as important and equally should be able to litigate, just as you have a right to life. And when that is deprived arbitrarily or outside the judicial process, you have access to justice, what we call remedies. The same equally applies to social rights once they are not fulfilled or violated. Many of the social rights we talk about progressive, but many within the state's capacity. As I said, you are not able to guarantee the right to life if you don't have right to health, access to decent jobs, water and sanitation. Many of these, if you don't have, you are not able to exercise the right to life, which is really the ultimate right that we try and push for. Again, just to emphasize, these rights are not something that came out of a vacuum or somebody brought it to us here on the African continent. These rights are universal and can be found even in our history, in our ancient time, pre-colonial, how we lived. Many of these rights were respected. Private property was respected. So many of these things are not a modern phenomenon. Now, I know we are facing many challenges when it comes to physical space, when it comes to budgeting issues, and many of these things. Yes, you have the right, but then the next question people ask is, okay, I have a right to a decent job. I finished university. I'm 24. I have a right to food, but I can't feed my family. I can't feed my children. I'm forced sometimes to steal, to beg, to cheat, to lie, to get... What does that mean in reality? If I'm sitting in Port Harcourt and I have a right to a decent job, I can't get a job because of many issues that prevent people from getting jobs. How do I do that? The right also comes the right and the knowledge to be able to claim that right. So you know your right, but how do you claim it? How do you exercise that right? And a lot of the work we do here is raising awareness of these rights and talking about the national protection mechanisms that exist. So you have the National Human Rights Commission in our context that we work very closely with. There are also other bodies that you can complain to, the Anti-Corruption unit. The police itself have a what we call CIU, the Complaints Response Unit, who we work with. There are means when your rights are violated that you can report and you can claim those rights. That's what we talk about. Yes, it's well and good knowing, but I know, how do I enforce it? How do I exercise it? And as rights holders, there are means to do this. And that's what we are here to really help with it, to support the Nigerian government and the state government to be able to meet their human rights obligations, to be able to meet the needs and the aspirations of the people of Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think it was all encompassing and it was more elaborate. At least you pointed out clearly the role as to what United Nations does globally. And then we were also specific as to the specific roles that United Nations is also doing in Nigeria in particular. But we just want to ask the questions as we bring this to a close about what is, in course of carrying out this, in your interactions and your interface with people, interpersonal relationships, and some other advocacies you have done, what are the challenges you have had so far, and what are the remedy probably you can also profile as to way out of some of those challenges you have encountered in course of your human rights activities?
I think many of the challenges we face here in Nigeria are similar to other contexts in really trying to create a culture of human rights. So I think the will is there. The legal frameworks exist in many places and on many issues. Enforcement sometimes is difficult. Certainly, resources to really dedicate to social issues is also a challenge, and that is because not so much there's no political will, but does it exist? How much space does the government have to allocate to social issues, which are really the founding, so education budget, the health budget towards gender equality, and then violence against women. We talk about treatment of prisoners, and we know in many countries really reflects on that country. The situation of prisons. How do people end up in prisons? How long they stay there, and on what grounds are they staying there? These are some of the challenges about also individuals, about institutions may have well and good, but we know it's made up of people. So it's about knowledge, ensuring people have the knowledge, they're aware of their responsibilities, they're aware of what the government has willingly agreed to do. And then equipping people, equipping the duty bearers, whether it's the police, whether it's the people working in the National Hospital, whether it's the school, whether it's the teachers in our schools, equipping them with the right skills, whether it's our correction services, those working in those prisons, to avoid using torture as a means to extract confessions, and to treat people who are in detention. For example, you're deprived of your liberty. That is the punishment. The punishment is your deprivation of liberty. Your treatment, you should not be treated worse off because of the setting you are in. You are being punished by being deprived of your liberty. You cannot therefore deprive them of food or adopt practices that are degrading or inhuman merely because they are in custodial settings. These are things that we want to talk about with correction services, to say that when you lose your liberty, it doesn't make you less human. When I am vulnerable, when I've lost my job, it doesn't make me less human. When something is happening to me. So we have to understand situations arises when I'm not able to work for whatever reason, or have certain disability. It doesn't make me less human, and it doesn't take away my rights. So these are things we try, and these are things about knowledge, and it's about repeated knowledge and awareness raising on these issues. But certainly the challenges are there, and we hope with the work of civil society, who are our key partners, in this. There's a strong and vibrant civil society in Nigeria, and we engage with them, and we hope they can really take up some of these social issues and take it forward and hold their government accountable. We are merely here to support.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I pick up something that was very key, and you laid emphasis on that in our first meeting as to your interest about the elderly women, and particularly those within confinements, those incarcerated. I think in the bronchial I brought for you is part of the things I also want you to speak more in our forthcoming the national conference on podium, to talk more about their interest about the incarcerated women, the elderly, and of course people with disabilities. So it's one of the key subject area we have earmarked for you to throw more light during that program. And then with what you have said, we are really impressed, and we believed with the support of United Nations Human Rights and then the civil society organizations like we have mentioned, if we can be working in that synergy to create more awareness, because I believe that our society lacks awareness. A lot of people don't know their rights. One of the things I have earmarked in a book I wrote, The Innocent Prisoner, is that the government should also, from the grassroots level, particularly from the primary, secondary school, should be taught fundamental human rights so that it become part and parcel of them. A lot of people, even to adulthood, does not know their fundamental rights, and as a result of that, they are being deprived one way or the other. So this is one of the advocacy we are strongly carrying out in this area.
And we will certainly support you on that. Human rights education is also done by UNESCO and the UN. We are happy to support the curriculum development, and of course, as you said, when you get them early is better. And for us, you mentioned the issue of women, older women, incarcerated older women, persons with disabilities. These are the promise, the central promise of the SDGs is leave no one behind. And to reach the furthest behind, these are people who are left behind, who data is not even able to capture, who we don't know what's happening to them. So for us, we are working to reach those who are even furthest behind. So this demographic is critically important that they're reached and that their needs are also addressed in any development agenda as we go forward.
It's okay. So we'll help to build up materials and also personnel for that, and we'll always call on you at any time, any moment, to see how we can put stones together to achieve our goal. So thank you very much.